this weekend a new original dark comedy survival thriller, Ready or Not, hits theaters, so let's talk about it. On her wedding night, Grace discovers she must play a deadly game of hide and seek. The only way to end the game is to make it to the morning alive. When I first saw the trailer for this film a couple of months back, it instantly became one of my most anticipated films of the year. Did it live up to my expectations? I'll tell you in just a second. Before that, tell me what you thought down below in the comment section. Are you even interested in this movie? Did you love it? Did you hate it? All that fun stuff. With that said, let's get started talking about the good. And easily my favorite thing about this film was the cast itself. In the lead is Samara Weaving. This is Hugo Weaving's niece. She's been making her rounds inside of the horror community for several years. She was in a movie called The Babysitter, another one called Mayhem, and everyone that's seen her in any of these movies absolutely falls in love with her instantly, but to other people, she's just the girl that looks like Margot Robbie. Hopefully, after people see her in this film, they'll start to realize she's a true talent in of herself. She's so charismatic, such a quirky, fun personality about her, and she absolutely brings that to the screen here. You buy her as the girl that's getting married, as the person confused by why she's being asked to play a game, and then the terrified person on the run for her life. She can sell all of it. She can get crazy when she needs to. She can start killing people when she needs to. She can do all this stuff that this film requires, and if you haven't seen her in anything else, if you see her in this, you'll probably instantly become a fan. You've also got Adam Brody in this film, playing actually a little bit more serious of a role. Even though this is a dark comedy of sorts, he's one of the characters that has a lot of complexity to his role in this film, as you don't quite know where he kind of falls on things inside of the film, and has very complex dynamics with almost everyone inside of the film, but at the same time, you still get some of that sarcasm from him, his little one-liners from here and there. I mean, but this is some of the best stuff I think I've ever seen him do that's not just straight comedy. Then we got Henry Czerny as kind of the patriarch of the family. He's someone that I grew up watching him in Clear and Present Danger and the original Mission Impossible. So he's one of these people that I've always known out there, and then I haven't seen him in a whole lot over the last 10 years. He's great in this film as the guy that's trying to get the job done, and he's kind of desperately falling apart inside of it while trying to take charge all at the same time. Thought he totally nailed it. I sure hope this kind of allows him to get more prominent roles. And then you have Andie MacDowell as his wife inside of the film, as someone that can play both sides of being this caring mother that's just trying to relate to her son and also trying to kill his wife at the same time. And the whole movie has that vibe around it of these people that you kind of like something about them, and at the same time they're hunting people. And whether you're talking about like the small little family members, all of them have something quirky and unique about them, whether they're on cocaine, they're just like a kind of a monster, they're trying to look up what's happening on their phone. All the characters have something about them that's a little bit memorable, that makes them pop. There's always that nuance, that distinction about them, which is one of the nice touches and spices for this film. Another great thing about this film is that it just kind of embraces the quirky concept of it. And anywhere where we as an audience might be like, really? Is that what's going on here? They play that into some of the characters inside of the film, have those same thoughts about it. They crack jokes, they comment about it, even kind of ties into some of the mystery of how the film works, but it goes for it. It embraces the silliness of the concept and just allows us as the audience to have fun with this absurd premise. But it also, there's a bit of a mystery inside of it tied to that, as some people don't even believe some of what's happening is really real, and creates a nice dynamic inside of the film as you're kind of like wondering, what is really going on here? Are these people just crazy? What is this? And so they added some layers on top of a simple concept that just adds just enough intrigue that you're engaged throughout. And finally, the thing that pulls it all together is that they seem to get the tone just about right. That it doesn't feel like you're watching a movie directed by 3 different people. It doesn't feel like it's all over the place. It's mix of humor, ultra-violence, thriller, horror, strange mythology. It ties together. It feels consistent throughout the entire film, so that the type of person that wants to go see this, they'll be like, yes, this is the type of film that I have been looking for. With all that said, let's move on to the mixed aspects of this film. The big thing that comes to mind here is the character development is kind of handled in an interesting way. Our lead character, Grace, we don't learn much about her, and she's kind of just in survival mode throughout the film. She's not the person that really changes. It's the family around her that we learn a lot more about, that we discover the complexity of the dynamics inside of the family, that some of them have their own doubts, and some of them are the ones that actually change throughout the course of the film. And that's an interesting way to do character development inside of a film, where it's not the lead person that changes, but the people around her that change the situation. I don't think that's necessarily good or bad. It is interesting and it is something to note. And from there, let's move on to the bad. Earlier I mentioned I think that they nailed the tone, but I don't think they went far enough with what they were going for. It could have been funnier. I think they could have had more dark elements. They could have had more ultra violence. They could have gone more bonkers with it, but they held back just a little bit. It felt a bit to me like they were so worried about going too far that they'd alienate some people, or that they'd break the tone and it wouldn't feel consistent, that they played it a little bit too safe. But inherently, with the movie that they were making, with about people hunting other people and snorting cocaine and making jokes out of it, it's inherently not a safe film, and so they probably needed to go a little bit more bonkers, all out with the premise. Another issue I had with the film is that our lead character is fairly passive in the way the story plays out. Early on, she discovers she's playing this game of hide and seek and people are trying to kill her. So just for the rest of the film, she's trying to survive. Without saying too much or spoiling anything, this means that the big changes in the story are all related to the choices that other characters make. It's not related to what our lead character chooses to do to kind of create her own destiny. It's what happens around her. And she's active in the scenes. She's fighting what's happening. She's trying to get away, but the actual changes inside the story are related to other characters inside of the film. And some of this goes back to what I mentioned before about the character development also being the people around her more so than our lead character herself. But the big disappointment for me coming out of the film is that I felt like it built up to a finale that didn't quite have the payoff that I was hoping for. With movies like this, built into the premise is you have someone that has been treated wrongly and you want them to get justice. You want them to get revenge. You're building up to the payoff of when the tides turn, and you get a little bit of that inside of this film, but not quite as much as I think the film builds it up to be. Even the marketing for the film has a picture of her with the double-barrel shotgun, the belt with the shotgun shells on it, which kind of sets up the expectation that there's going to be this big, massive showdown of sorts in the end where she goes to war with them or something like that. That's what that imagery evokes for me. That's not really the way this plays out. There's some of that. You do get that inside of this film, but it's not as much as I was expecting it to actually occur inside of the film. So I left being like, oh, that's all it was? It seemed like going into the second half of the film, they wanted to subvert our expectations a little bit, toy with us all the way up until the very end, in which case, on a story level, I did find that pretty interesting and engaging, but it also meant that they didn't deliver a fully satisfying finale for me. I went into this film wanting to love it. I didn't quite love it, but I did like it. But since my expectations were so high, I did leave a bit disappointed. I just wanted them to kind of go for a little bit more and for our lead character to be the one driving the action more in the second half of the film. Still, great cast, great characters, loved the concept. It's a B overall. It's a 7.5 on the entertainment scale. If you like the trailer, you should see it, but with tempered expectations. If you enjoyed this review, check out that video right over there. I don't even know what it is. I let YouTube pick what you should watch next. So check that one out if you've enjoyed this video. Thank you so much for watching, and keep talking movies too much.